working. Okay, there we go. That says it's doing what it should. I'm switching back to whatever it's called, the internet, so I can see my notes. Start up the game. Maybe you should make sure that the game is actually showing up, because I'm apparently incompetent.
No, you did it. You're plenty confident. Before you say something.
No, it does. 100%, always. But, I'm Silent, or Okakisa, and I'm allegedly a political philosopher.
And Cody, guy who likes alternate history.
And we're going to continue our review, summary, and analysis of Sliders. This particular episode is the actual main world of the King is Back episode, and get into it. So it begins with they get there and they've been gone long enough that Remy thinks that, or seems to think that Earth only exists in their mind. That is to say, their Earth only exists in their mind. Suggests that they've been sliding for a fairly long while at this point, likely. People notice. Oh, sorry, you were saying something?
Just to say, I can relate to after a long trip, feeling like I don't have any memories before starting the trip. You know, even a real long plane ride can feel like we're on a generation ship, depending on how long the ride is.
Oof. So people noticed Remy in the wild as the crying man. This entices Arturo to say that it means you're popular here, which means we can't be on our Earth, which it's just a jab at Rembrandt. They jadewalk, and Wade thinks they broke the law. This is a relation to the prior episode, or our prior episode, the bookend Earth of this world, where the justice system put the death penalty on Quinn for his double doing graffiti on a highway overpass. And they're like, maybe it's this, but then it quickly goes away. It's revealed that Rembrandt got famous after he split from the Tops. He is referred to on this world as the King. They're in the, what's it called? Place where people exist to sleep on trips.
Hotel?
Yes, the motel. They're in the motel, and they're watching TV. Skipper in this Gilligan's Island is on. Skipper is the kind of the dumb buffoon in this world. And Marianne and Gilligan are trying to get married. This leads me to believe that maybe there's a degree of consistency in this world building, such that people who tend to be second fiddles and are mostly kind of bad at their jobs actually have the upper hand in this world, as shown by Rembrandt being really popular and Gilligan being the smart one.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
We learn that Rembrandt can cry from each eye individually. We also see more songs and music videos from him, and clearly displays he's a good singer. I mean, the previous ones did too, but this puts it on display. as they're watching Gilligan's Island, Jerry O'Connell cue ball walks. My ear started ringing. Yeah. Walks out into the room from taking a shower, and he's like ripped.
I didn't comment on that last episode. You know, you're not supposed to think of him as like this muscular guy, right? He's portraying sort of this nerdy guy. I mean, I guess last episode he was a bit of an athlete, but you know, when you have to observe, it's like, oh man, this guy's fat.
I mean, obviously, we're supposed to be thinking of him as ripped and attractive. On this world as well, Italian opera is noted as the mainstream music because they note that they're trying to identify the other people who are back with the king, and they note that cue ball is supposed to be from crap, I can't remember who the guy's name was, but from the Doors. And then they say that Arturo is Luciano Pavarotti. Um, it took me until this watch through to finally realize why Arturo was also dragged out into the crowd and had his clothing forcibly removed by them, because he's also supposed to be hyper famous.
So, I mean, I guess this would later be kind of shown later on based on how they rap. But from the news broadcast alone, it seemed as though they were doing a bit of a deep dive to find out about him. Are we sure that opera is necessarily mainstream?
Uh,
As much
yes, because he says this appears to be Luciano Pavarotti, who clearly is not dead in this world, but they speculate that he has shown up with the Return of the King to represent mainstream music at this momentous occasion.
okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. So then I guess we're kind of led directly into a question that's not really an alternate history question, but it's a question nonetheless. I guess it's an in universe alternate history question. Did Captain Jack Brim make Rembrandt a star, or was it likely just something else, as would be noted through the rest of the stuff we'll be getting to momentarily?
Yeah, I think that just the cultural climate of this world was better for Rembrandt. But, I mean, at least the conclusion Rembrandt came to was like, oh, maybe I should have gone with this guy. So, who knows, right? We need an alternate history.
You kind of cut out there. Sorry. Oh, did you just cut out fully?
Oh, uh, I said that it is hard to tell because the cultural climate of this world is clearly different than the way that climate of the world is with Rembrandt. But we don't know how Rembrandt would do in this world if he hadn't gone to that guy, right?
Yeah.
Make to alternate his.
um. So Arturo is racist against Italians on the basis that he's an Englishman. The hotel owner appears once again. He was absent for a couple of episodes in the interim. Want to? No, don't want to. I'm not sure. Well, whatever. Michael.
I guess I'm cutting out, but you already covered a bit where Arturo's plot is.
I didn't make out any of that. Yeah, yes. Arturo is racist against Italians on the basis he's an Englishman.
The
Uh,
the injection of A's between consonants is something that Italian, like native language speakers, do when they're learning English. That's objectively true, but like also, oh my god, Arturo, you can't say that.
and he's like, clearly I can, because I did. And we're like, you're not supposed to say that. Yes. So, continuing, hotel owner appears again. Michael Jackson rejoined Public Enemy in this world, which suggests he joined Public Enemy. I confused Koki because I am apparently very bad with singers, such that I confused Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley. Uh,
That brought me down an interesting rabbit hole.
uh, shows how good I am at musical stuff, which I fully acknowledge I am bad at that.
Neither was it music, guys.
Yeah. And so then Jack Brim says billions will watch you on all four networks. I forget how networks, what it means and how it works at the time. Do you? I know you looked into this while we were watching.
Oh yeah, there were supposed to be six. I don't remember exactly what they mean by that, other than here there are fewer networks.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so Rembrandt is. So they leave the hotel in Brim's car, or they're going to Brim's car to leave the hotel. Rembrandt is knocked out by and kidnapped by Maurice Fish, who seems like he worked with him, at least for a little bit on in the tops. Um, Fish is insane and thinks he was the brains behind the whole musical operation. Threatens to cut out Rembrandt's tongue during while he's kidnapped. Um, then we see that this world's Rembrandt is actually still alive and faked his own death. This was just temporarily showed up. Then it cut back to that Captain Jack doesn't want Cue Ball to call the cops. Doesn't want the kidnapper to kill Remy or get sued for breach of contract because Rembrandt doesn't show up for a what's it called concert. Cue Ball decides to anyway. The police don't care and think the whole thing is anyway fake anyway because they get a number of fake Rembrandt sightings every year, so they just dismiss all of them out of hand. This leads to our position as well of all cops are bastards, because it's like, oh, somebody's been kidnapped. On the one hand, you could say that, oh yes, they don't want to be overrun investigating every single Rembrandt sighting, but this is also notably different than a Rembrandt sighting. I guess it's still a Rembrandt sighting, but you see the individual and you're like, this guy's been kidnapped. They would still have they should still have an obligation to investigate anyway. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's a weirdly aborted plot thread where they're like, oh no, you should have told the police, and it's like, what's the point of having this whole thing if it doesn't result in anything? Unless they're trying to convey that in this world, the police are worse than in our world. Which maybe that's what they're trying to do. I'm not sure.
Me either. It could be. Then there is the additional difficult or additional notes in there is that police tend to not take claims or not investigate crimes against racial minorities as thoroughly as they do crimes against white folks, and this could be seen as an instance that they're trying to convey this in their storytelling. And even if they did show up, it could still prove unfortunate for Rembrandt due to, cops just going in guns blazing. Oh no, he was in the way, and it was also a fake one anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, it's not really a political commentary, just a little 90s-ism I thought was interesting, where it's like, oh, this guy had his computer hooked up to a modem, which is a similar thing to like, is this computer on the internet a few episodes ago, where it's just not taken as a given that computers are connected to the internet, and it may come off as strange, but like, there was a time where a lot of people had computers in their house and no internet.
Yeah. My family was one of them for a fair bit, which is also kind of amusing. So Q-Ball hacks into a government database and finds the license plate on the car that abducted Rembrandt. The license plate was Crybaby, Kribaby, I believe. And then Doppelremy arrives just as they're about to leave and says, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you've returned." Obviously, they're supposed to be the same Rembrandt. I just personally found this a little odd. It's played by Clavant Derrick's brother, or yeah, twin brother, and to me, they don't really look alike at all. So it was kind of amusing. The whole episode, these people who, again, to me, just don't seem alike. Everybody's going, "Wow, they're basically identical." Sorry, I missed that because I was laughing.
So their complexion is a little different. Rembrandt has a few more expression lines. If you were to tell me these were identical twins, I wouldn't necessarily deny it, but they clearly have a difference between the two.
Yeah, if you told me they were identical twins, I would deny it on the basis. If you told me they were fraternal twins, yeah, I would fully accept that, and I believe that's what they are. But
Yeah, there are clear differences, and they're clearly trying to make them look similar, which they quite succeed at.
yeah,
This
uh,
is also an other universe, but yeah, they are still talking about them looking the same. So
yeah. I
let's
don't.
imagine that this is a universe where they do look the same.
I know it's not what they would be going for, but it does make me immediately go to the thought of oops, that's not what I wanted. Conceptualization that many people, especially white folks, can't tell black folks apart, and more capability of facial registry for differentiating white people's faces apart than black people's. Now, this obviously isn't what they're going for, due to the fact that even Rembrandt and Doppel Rembrandt are like, wow, it's like looking into a mirror, and they're turning around each other for like a good solid minute in episode. Um, but it did remind me of that anyway.
You know, it's kind of funny that I had the dumbest thought, which was, because you said that white people can't tell black people apart.
um, so Rembrandt arrives and notes that he faked his death to get out of show business because he just had too much of it. Maurice, he was the one who had Maurice Fish institutionalized because Fish is insane, and that Rembrandt will be lucky to be alive by the time people get to him if Fish does indeed have him, which we as the audience know definitively, yes, Maurice Fish does indeed have him. I don't know how to describe Fish's insane nature, but he's clearly acting unwell. Would you have any
You know, I mean, there's really kind of a session happening here, right? But I don't think this is like a particular mental illness that maps onto anything. This really just seems like a patient mental illness or who do murdery things. Like, there's some aspects of it that come off as bipolar personality disorder, or no, not borderline personality disorder, but not really at all. So the short answer is he has the mental illness of movie living or TV
Mm-hmm. That would seem, I want to say reasonable, but I think you know what I mean regardless. I guess there's also, the possibility that, ow, my ear's ringing again. That he has a mental illness that's clearly defined in this world, but maybe we don't know in our own. Regardless, though, Rembrandt and the gang independently tell both of the people. In the case of Rembrandt, he tells Fish, and in the case of the other sliders, the original Rembrandt, that they're from another dimension, and nobody believes them. I mean, that's kind of fair. It's an unbelievable story, and they haven't yet become sufficiently disillusioned to stop trying to tell people about it. That'll happen at some point, but not currently. Fish thinks Rembrandt's nuts from taking pills and alcohol, and this was related to conspiracies and or rumors about him in probably the media, at the very least the social atmosphere is these are things he might be doing. So Captain Jack puts out impersonators for the concert to fill the intro space. Just a fun thing. I like that one of them looked like a Weird Al impersonator. Due to the fact that he was white, a different white guy Rembrandt impersonator was at the very end before the actual Rembrandt is introduced on stage. He's called the albino Rembrandt, and I also just thought that was funny and felt like I wanted to note it too.
one thing's worth noting.
Go, go on.
Oh, okay, sorry. Pretty past this part, but I'm thinking about another instance where the show kind of makes light of sexual assault, and this time, Arturo seems to be the victim. Now, granted, both Rembrandt and Rose had his clothes ripped off, and it's
Yeah, if the extent of it was just he's pulled out into the crowd and they force him on their shoulders and I guess forcibly crowd surf him. I could write that off as just as lol, that's silly, but
yeah, this is something that seems to be a recurring thing in sliders. Not like a huge thing, but and it's something that still happens perhaps in our culture broadly. This isn't even a 90s thing. This is something that's still going on where, men getting sexually assaulted is just kind of funny.
yeah, and I feel like it's would be uncontroversial to say our stance on the issue is it's not. um, so the
Yeah, but that was sort of an aside.
no,
It just randomly popped into my memory.
yeah, and it's a fair thing to point out. I had forgotten about it and to note it as well. So the Sliders and Doppelremy break into the house where the car was registered to. The place appears to belong to an acquaintance of Rembrandt's. I can't remember if it's like a fiance or a wife that he abandoned or something. Um, but she was also not aware that he actually was alive, so he was doing a fairly good job at keeping himself secret, not going back to his old life. Um,
Oh, were we supposed to recognize her? I don't know if this was the same woman as that time that in the hippie world. I genuinely did not really register either of these women.
oh, true. I don't know. Unfortunately, I do have a degree of face blindness, as I'm using as that comes right off the back of these people look nothing alike, but I'm
And
not
a lot
sure.
of people can't tell the difference between black people because they're racist.
uh,
Oops. Oops, we told on ourselves. Uh, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about as to wife. In 1970. I'll probably look at the episodes later. We'll probably talk about the bookend episode. Bookend world, that's another episode, so
well, I mean, the bookend world for this one is basically non-existent, so I figure it's just worth the one sentence. It's relevant.
fair enough.
Um, so they break into the house. She's like, "Oh, it is you," and tells them where Fish is, and they leave as quickly as they arrive. They busted in a thing of glass, and so that this world's Rembrandt says that he'll pay for it. Um, they go to where Rembrandt is actually being held, and Cue Ball charges at Fish and takes the razor, and then Rembrandt punches him in the face. Um, Rembrandt and Doppel Rembrandt meet. Um, Doppel Rembrandt decides to give our Rembrandt his whole life, and so both get everything they want. Our Rembrandt gets to be famous, and Doppel Rembrandt gets to stop being famous. Um, they noted that there was a crying land or Cryan land, I can't remember pronunciation, in Tennessee, which is a theme park for slash about Rembrandt. Um, Rembrandt and the Sliders return to the concert. Rembrandt says that he wants to stay. This is fairly obvious, I believe. I'm not sure if it's just because of stuff off screen, but and having special knowledge that the main cast doesn't. Did it? Would you think that it would have been like hyper obvious as well, Koki, or am I just reading into?
What that Rembrandt wants to say?
Yeah.
It is something that came up earlier too.
Mm. Uh, um. So Wade and Cue Ball try to talk out of it. Amusingly, even though they often don't see eye to eye and seemingly like to just argue and butt heads with each other, Arturo seemed to be the most agreeable to it, not seemingly from the stance of, well, I don't like you, so you're gonna be gone, good riddance, but like when they were saying their goodbyes, he seemed genuinely like, oh, I'll miss your annoying face kind of deal. But
Well, it would be hypocritical of him given what he did just a world or two ago.
true, but that hasn't stopped him before.
Yeah, fair enough.
But so Arturo just gives him like a word of caution, and that's his extent, which I found nice. I don't know what the extent of the word of caution was, outside of him saying a word of caution, but yeah, but regardless, it's still. Um, so Albino Rembrandt gets taken off the stage. The gang gives their goodbyes to our Rembrandt and hugs him. Arturo says, "It's been a delight to meet you." Rembrandt officially forgives Cue Ball for everything because he finally gets to live his dream. Rembrandt goes on stage. Doppel Rembrandt appears off stage with the gang, or the Sliders. Wade's clearly sad. They're about to leave. Um, Wade told Doppel Rembrandt that what he was doing was like really nice. She doesn't know if she could walk away from $1 million a song, and Doppel Rembrandt gets like $1 million a song, and he storms off going something. I can't remember his exact words, but he's like muttering under his breath, like maybe I can't believe this. Then he bursts onto the stage shortly after because he wants the $1 million, and he insinuates that our Rembrandt is a doppelganger, and he's the best doppelganger there is.
Reenactor or not reenactor, impersonator.
Yeah, that's what it was. Um, and so Rembrandt. Oh, right. Slightly before that. This goes back to the differences and why maybe our Rembrandt was able to become famous. Our Rembrandt couldn't become famous, and this one did. Their singing styles are just very different. Our Rembrandt is more slow and I want to say somber, more like a romance-y. But the Rembrandt of this world is like a rock singer. He's really upbeat and loud. He moves all over the place.
So what gets me about this, and I think that the difference could be explained with the alternate history that I have in my mind, but what gets me about this is the people playing the instruments, right? Like, they clearly would be accustomed or have an idea of how to play for Rembrandt. And surely they'd be like, yo, this isn't the song. But Rembrandt's like, play it this way. And are we assuming that Rembrandt's like, hey, play it the usual way? I don't know. This is something that probably. I guess they didn't have to explore more, but like, unless we're assuming that the music is coming from them and their spirit, there clearly was some kind of communication that has happened. So
True.
personally, I'd rather believe that Rembrandt and Doppel Rembrandt have a way to project music from their soul, so they don't actually need other musicians.
Yeah. But I did not think about that. So then our Rembrandt shows that he can match the other Rembrandt's what is it? Musical spirit, um, and they're equally as good as each other. Um, and then it's told that this is actually the impersonator. Our Rembrandt's the impersonator, and the other one takes over. Our Rembrandt dejectedly leaves the stage. The group has 7 minutes to find a quiet place to slide. Then he's the sliders say that Rembrandt is the only crying man for them, which was nice and emotional. They console him with maybe he'll be bigger on the next world. And then the extent of what we know about the next world, I'm just going to say right now, he's a vendor for Chill King ice cream. And somebody goes, "Are you the king? Are you really him?" And he goes, "No, I'm not really the king." And then they ride off into off screen.
So I think there's something worth noting here. And it's kind of weird that I have words to say about, well, I have words to say about words, I guess.
I'm not a
But
good talker, but so that's
this
why I
could
brought you on
be
too.
this could be a generic like uniform. Sure, everyone has a crown, but the fact that they're going to Rembrandt and saying, "Are you the king?" may mean that Rembrandt in this world is a mascot for this ice cream company, or at least he looks a lot like the mascot for Chill King ice cream. But we don't see any like signage that shows his face or anything. So this is speculation on my part. Why would a kid go up to you and ask, "Are you the king?" You know, it's sort of like if you're at a McDonald's register and you see like Ronald McDonald there. You know, I can imagine you like, "Are you Ronald McDonald?" You know, the Ronald McDonald or something. But you know, I choose
Mm.
to believe that the Chill King ice cream has a king, and that king looks like Rembrandt.
Mm-hmm. Like even if it's not on the box, even if it's not on the carts, it could still be like what are they called? Commercials.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Or even on the rappers, you don't see that.
Yeah, no. Uh-huh. That's interesting thought. Uh, so there's not so outside of my all cops are bastards segment, there doesn't really seem to be too much to say about alternate histories of this world, or there doesn't seem to be too much to say about the politics being discussed in this episode. I mean,
Okay.
what? So do you have any thoughts about the alternate histories?
Uh, so for the King's background,
Yes.
even though this is was initially based on a misunderstanding where you misremembered, well, you said like Elvis wasn't famous, but you meant to say Michael Jackson wasn't famous, which even that's kind of weird because in this case Michael Jackson was kind of famous as a member of Public Enemy. But I want to pick up on this thread, the idea that Elvis never took off. It's worth noting that rock as a genre wasn't necessarily guaranteed to become popular, right? In fact, it was very racialized. It was politically problematic. And we don't really think about Elvis as kind of bridge between the black and white community, but he kind of was. And even during his time, people kind of criticized him for playing race music. And there's a problematic aspect of this. Elvis stole songs from black creators, and he didn't really put as much back into the black community as he took from it. But it did sort of open the window for music that was outside of general American consciousness to go in there. And it's worth noting that two of the musicians that are safe to be famous in this world, Red Brown and
True.
I
Uh,
something that oh yeah.
other things we know about the musical landscape of this world is that again the Italian opera seems is the mainstream music, and Luciano Pavarotti is supposedly very popular, at least presumably just within America, or at least within America. I mean, uh,
Yeah, and the fact that Rembrandt is known as the king in the United States, or at least in California, which we assume is part of the United States in this world,
yeah,
kind of makes me think that maybe Elvis never really took off. Michael Jackson was known as the king of pop, so the idea of there being a king after the king isn't completely out of the picture. But I think it's safe to say that the musical landscape was very different because, and if there's no Elvis, there's no Beatles or Rolling Stones, like, rock remains kind of a very racialized form of music that isn't really in the mainstream yet. And so this is my potential take of how this alternate history played out. There are other threads that I could probably tug on, like are the cops actually worse in this world, or is this just? I'm gonna be honest. I think it might just be in line with the creator's sensibilities that cops are useless. I can't think of too many instances where the cops have been shown to be particularly helpful in the show, but in this case, they go out of their way and say, "Hey, we should call the cops," and just kind of refute the idea that calling the cops is a good idea. So, this may not be an aspect of this alternate history, but
yeah. As they get into later episodes, especially towards, I believe it's the fourth season, they get more explicitly. No, the cops are actually just useless at best, and at worst, black people should watch out for them.
yeah. So, this may just be like our world, and it's not necessarily trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
But I also think this kind of explains the difference between the musical styles because what Double Rembrandt sings, like the music sings it to, the tempo that he sings it to, it sounds kind of old fashioned. It sounds like something that Elvis or the Beatles would sing. It's the kind of thing you would sing if rock was new in this world. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm inclined to say about this world's alternate history. But obviously, so much is the same. The fact that Devil sang with it in this world, despite the entire musical landscape being different, it was a potential lead in what it is. And it's also possible that Elvis was famous, but he just wasn't called the king, probably because he died of natural causes or something, or maybe he just wasn't as famous.
I guess
I
another
don't know what it
possibility
is.
is the fact that in our world, Elvis already is noted for not liking to be called the king, because he multiple times made official declarations that he was not the king of rock. That honor went to some other artist I can't remember the name of. Like I want to say like no, well I want to say Fats Dominoes, but didn't think of looking this up at the before we began. But he did reject the nickname the King.
Oh, well, there's one bit that Elvis said Christ is king.
Yeah, well, I'm ignoring that one because that's obviously not what I'm going for. But no, he explicitly noted that a black guy was the king.
Okay, so actually, it's kind of funny. Elvis gets criticized for like taking the thunder away from black artists, and he did, and he literally stole at least one of the songs. But at least he was trying to elevate a black performer during his life.
Yeah, and I also know that I I'm not like an Elvis fanboy, and I don't know nearly much about him, but I also know his manager was an absolutely terrible person. So I'm not so a question I have without having looked into it too much is how much would the what's the guy what's the manager? How much did the manager influence him to steal?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the specifics of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was just thinking out
and
loud.
admittedly, a lot of the people who face this kind of criticism, I'm thinking about Eminem, where they could have done more, but they did certainly make efforts to try not to take the spotlight away. So,
Yeah,
uh, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out the way that you want it to.
yeah,
But as for the the chill theme or whatever, I heard the answer
yeah.
well, clearly there is a brand of ice cream that exists in California. For all I know, this brand could exist in California. It's not a point divergence at all. Uh, but it's clearly famous enough that little kids are asking Burger Right if he's the king, which makes me think that maybe Burger King is in this world, but we just don't have enough information there.
Yeah,
But
and there could be multiple kings in this instance.
yeah, yeah. Uh, no, Burgrants does sort of first it as, hey, maybe if I went with this guy, I would have been more successful. And maybe, we don't know that, but we do know that there's already a lot different in this world, particularly that Michael Jackson was a member of Public Enemy in this world. So the musical landscape was completely different.
Yeah, and I'm still going to uphold that Italian opera is mainstream music, which is also quite a difference.
You say that like Italian opera isn't mainstream music in our world.
I do say that like that.
Fair enough. I yield. You have defeated me. Are we gonna ask the two questions we asked for both of these ones?
Oh, right, yes. Should they? Oh, I guess more timely of a question. What's Puerto Rico? What do you think Puerto Rico's like?
So in an ice cream world, it depends on how big this showcase brand is. Heiko seems to be like aggressively advertising it in the ice cream trucks when I was a kid at least. They have like little jingles, Heiko, it's a lot. I don't know if Showcase could have actually replaced Heiko in that respect. I wouldn't be surprised though, especially if they have a mascot looking like Rembrandt. There are like brands in Puerto Rico that do kind of like that kind of folksy looking iconography that is just a guy with a nicely groomed mustache. Uh, in terms of what Puerto Rico is like in this alternate world without rock and roll, it's hard to say. I will say that there was a huge cultural division in Puerto Rico between rockers and reggaetoneros, but I'm going to say that that wouldn't be relevant yet in the 90s in Puerto Rico. Obviously, a lot of people in Puerto Rico like rock, but Puerto Rico has its own sort of musical traditions that, don't get me wrong, were influenced by rock, but are it's kind of its own beast. So I can't really say a whole lot about what the musical landscape would be like. Michael Jackson is obviously very well known, and so is, well, Elvis maybe not as, he doesn't stand as big in Puerto Rican consciousness as Michael Jackson does, or Elvis does in the United States, but he's known about it, so clearly things would have gone out a different way, but I'm maybe just not enough of a music guy to say how different Puerto Rican music would be.
Mm-hmm. And then the second question: should they stay in this world to fix the timer and try to get home?
Yeah. You know, if Redmer was able to take the job and was making $1 million or so, this is an obvious yes, of course.
should they, even if he didn't want to?
yeah, there's also alternative safety to keep in mind. Well, I suppose that's the thing. With the crowds around Rembrandt being different, now that they know that there's a newly identical impersonator, uh, say. But overall, I'm kind of say yes, this is probably a good world for them to stay and try to fix the timer. I think that Apple Rembrandt should at least, what I want to say is for strategy, but I guess they didn't really do anything for Apple Rembrandt other than negotiate a contract that was $1 million a song. But that wasn't really Rembrandt talk, was it? Maybe it was. I don't know. We actually don't see the specific negotiations in Apple story.
Yeah.
In terms of the ice cream world, I mean, they have a steady income, which is nice. And as far as we can tell, this is a functional world. To be honest, even if it takes like a couple of years, having a steady income and gradually working on the machine bit by bit might be good, but unlike the in this back world where they have a place to stay and a base of operations presumably, that wouldn't necessarily be the case, in this
Yes.
Ice King, in this Chill King world. So still probably better than risking the next world. I
Yeah.
don't get anything too bad. Considering the stuff they've gone through, I'd be like, yeah, the answer is yes in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How do you feel about both of these roles?
I think that they should probably stay in the King is Back world for basically the same reasons. They're not in any danger. They could probably get jobs, even if Rembrandt can't get a job. He, I feel like maybe even second. What do I want to say? Second Rembrandt, the Doppel Rembrandt, for want of a better term, would be willing to take care of them. I don't know too much about them, but
Yeah, like, it's not like they did anything for him. If anything, they just gave him trouble. Except, thanks to them, he got a better contract than he had before. And that got him out of retirement. So, there's that.
yeah,
And he was clearly nice enough to, like, not spoil that's not Rembrandt. You know. So, yeah. They have it in. What about Ice Cream World?
I they don't appear like they're running for their lives, so I would like to believe that it's just a generally chill world, pun intended. Um,
Yeah, they don't tell us about the ice cream worker draft that exists in this world.
yeah, we're not told anything about that, so we can't put that into our equations as much as we want to.
I suppose this is something we don't really think about when deciding this, because we don't know how long they're in the ice cream world, but we don't know what could go bad if they stay, right? There are aspects of the politics that may not be apparent during their first couple of weeks, but for all we know, Chilty World could be the world where China nukes the U.S. a week from when they landed, right?
True, yeah. Um,
But then again, our world could be back, so that doesn't say anything.
yeah, it's not likely, but theoretically, theoretically, it could be our world.
But, we at least know the politics of our world,
Yeah,
and have lived here for years, so we have a full understanding of it. If you're living in a place for a week, you would still be surprised by the politics of the world.
yeah. You can encounter things you wouldn't have even conceived of. Like you're just having your job as an ice cream vendor, and then all of a sudden Angola bursts into the room, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I'm also thinking like there was a world where there's an organ donor draft, right? And you may not realize that this is an aspect of this society the first week or a couple of weeks that you're in this world until one of these turns up and it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna come in and cut your organs open. So yeah,
And
but
yeah,
this is
yep.
just babbling for time.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to
Getting
do
into
that,
more
but it's
little.
fun to discuss anyway, and I don't think anybody's really anybody really cares. So, eh.
You don't know the range of viewers that we have right now. All two of them. One of them being me.
So I believe that was it for this world. I think the next episode is the season finale, so we will be finishing up with season 1 of Sliders at that time.
Alrighty. So, everyone be awesome to each other. Have a good one.
Have fun.